Good afternoon to everybody. Spend time and register to come to this webinar organized by Bullard and Smith Abrasive Blasting. Right. So today mainly we would like to cover a few subjects. Right. So one will be the safety awareness. Right. The hazard that we are facing when doing the sandblasting. Right. As well as how to set up a sandblasting system so that the workers can have efficient blasting and also as well as safety, right? So let's start the webinar without further ado. Okay, so to show our appreciations, we have ready a small gift for those who are actually based in Malaysia, right? So for those who are based in Malaysia, we will hand over a Bullard notebook and also a special pen, right? Either it's personally or by post, depends on your location, right? So for those who are in Malaysia, please remember to provide us your address and also contact numbers, right? So along the way, we will have two lucky draws, right? So every lucky draw we will have this Palagawa to give away to the winner, right? So in total, we'll give out 5 Palagawa. This Palagawa is one of the very useful accessories for the blaster. Okay, so it will actually absorb your sweat and also keep you hygiene when you are donning your sandblasting helmets, right? So please stay with us until the end, right? You might be the lucky one. Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping, right? So if you have any questions that you would like us to address, so please feel free to click on the buttons, right? There is a Q&A buttons at the bottom of the applications, right? You can type in your questions. So we will try to answer it at the end of the presentations, or maybe along the way, the panelists will help us to answer your questions as well. Okay, a little bit about myself. So my name is Cheong Swan. So I have been in the safety and also PPE line for more than 10 years. Okay, so currently I am the regional sales manager for Bullard and looking after the Southeast Asia regions. So along my career, so I have many opportunities to work with the safety professionals, right? Especially on the on-site support to them, right? So I gained my experience along the way from the on-site and also the to work with the safety professionals. Right, so today, beside me, we also have a guest speakers, right? So Edmond, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Edmond. Good to meet you all. What I do is I represent Smith Abrasive Blasting. We are one of the pioneer in the blasting equipment, and I would like to share our experience and also our technology to everyone. Please feel free to ask us a question, key in your question, and we're happy to answer all your information. I'll pass back this time to Cheong, and he will do his presentation, and followed by me. I'll do my presentation on plastic equipment, as well as safety factors or safety features that we can help and assist for all the blasters and operators.
All right, thank you, Edmond. Let's start our presentations. Okay, for my part, I will take about 25 to 30 minutes to cover two main subjects. One will be the potential health risk when we are doing sandblasting. The other one will be what will be the solutions for the blaster. Okay. Now let's do a little bit of risk assessment together. I will show you a video. Okay, then you might tell me what you see. You know, what type of hazards you have identified in the video. So I'm sure you have seen a lot of problem or safety hazards in this video, right? Okay, so the major problems or major safety risks that I've discovered, basically the first one with the toxic dust. So I'm sure you can see a lot of dust and particles flying around the blaster. What else? I'm sure you can also see, or you can hear high noise level, right? So the other one will be heat stress. Okay, assume that in Asia, especially Malaysia, many blasters need to work under the hot sun, or you need to work inside a confined space, right? Heat stress could be a problem, right? Another one that I can see is high speed and high pressure, right? So this is the four typical safety hazards that we usually encounter, right? Let's go through one by one and see how to deal with it. Okay, so from the picture you can see it's very dusty, but actually when it comes to particle and also dust, right? So whatever we can see actually is less hazardous. Okay, what we cannot see is the one that we need to be careful. Okay, do you know the particle size that actually can create harmful to human body? Okay, this is actually the particle size that actually harm to our lung. So from the table you can see anything above 100 microns all the way down to 0.01 micron is actually very harmful. But however, anything below 10 micron is almost invisible to human naked eyes. So that is why when we deal with particles, we will always very concerned about particle size. Okay, the reason is because you can see our human actually we have a natural defense mechanism in place. So anything above 5 micron and above, right? Actually, our hair, our nose, hair, and our upper tract airway can actually trap the particles, right? So you may feel some irritations, okay, sore throat, but however, the most dangerous particle is actually anything below 5 microns, right? When it comes to 5 micron, it can actually go down to your deep lung, and then you deposit in your deep lung. Right. So 1 micron is even worse. It can really go into all the way down, right? So it will never come out, right? So what is the problem when we come to this hazard is like this? It will not harm you when you work there for 1 day or 2 days, So it will only harm you after months or years. Okay. So then that is why a lot of people don't really take serious about it. Okay. So from the photo, actually this is a photo that I take it out from the OSHA website, right? So on the left is actually has the healthy lung. So actually you can see it's full of air. The black portion is actually full of air, it's healthy lung. The one on your right is actually lung that's with a lot of scar, right? So all these scar actually caused by deposit of the particles. But it could be silica, it could be leads, or other small particles. So because of that, you have limited or very insufficient air supply inside your lung. Okay, and this cannot be recovered, sadly. Okay, so the next one will be high noise level. Okay, so for high noise level, another problem also, it will only kill you or harm your body when you expose to it for long durations, right? So anything above 85 dB is considered actually harmful to the body, but however, it will not harm you immediately. So you can imagine, let's say you are working in the sandblasting, you are the blaster, okay, and then maybe you expose to 87 or 90 dB, but you expose it every day, okay? So it may take time to harm you if you do nothing about it. So that is why, according to OSHA regulations, anything above 85 will require protections, right? Okay. So basically, the inside our ear there is we call this hearing ear cell, right? So is something that if you damage it, it's just like glass, you know, when you step on it, it will come back. But if you always step on it, right, it will not grow anymore. So that is why it's very important to take care of our hearing. Okay. So what else we have? So we also have another problem is heat stress. Okay. So heat stress is actually the severe of heat stress, right? It could be, sometimes it could be the user itself don't actually aware that actually he's under heat stress, right? So this is the problems. Okay. Of course, you know, if you have severe heat stress, then you are actually you're going to heat stroke. Then you might be unconscious, but this is easy to identify. But minor heat stress, right, can actually cause you to lose focus in your job. Okay. Then the problem of losing focus in your job, right? It will cause two problems that most of the people do not want to see. The first one will be reduce your work performance. Okay, the blasting effect, or maybe the speed, the accuracy is not there. Okay, so it's not because the worker want to do that, because he's working under his stress environments, right? The other one you want to see is increase the accidents. Okay, because you are tired, you know, because you are fatigued, right? So all these can actually lead to accident happens, right? So I want to share with you a very good informations when it comes to this heat stress management. Actually, our DOSH website, our DOSH actually have come out with a guideline for the heat stress management. Okay, so if you want to know more about the heat stress and how to manage it, actually you can go to the website and download the entire guidelines, right? So now we understand that, you know, we have these respiratory problems, we have heat stress problems, we also have the hearing problems. The other one is the high speed and also the high pressure. Okay, so for the high speed, high pressures, the solution will actually provide by the equipment itself, which Edmond will cover later on. So to deal with all these problems, right? What we need to do is always remember this invert pyramid. Okay, so maybe a lot of us think that when we put on the PPE, we are actually very safe, but actually it's the other way around. Okay, so if you want to deal with hazard, you must always try to take away the hazard if possible. Okay, or maybe you replace the hazard with something that not so hazards. Okay, or do you have engineering control? Can you have a better equipment that don't really produce the hazards? Okay, or can you change the way you work? So after all these have been done, or it cannot be done because of practicality, then you can start to look into the PPE approach. Okay, so once you want to look into a PPE approach, then you can start to study what will be the suitable PPE. Right. So next, what I will share with you is when you choose your PPE, what will be the important point that you need to look into it, right? So you can see from the slide, this is the basic blaster PPE. Okay, you have helmets, or we call respirators. We have blasting suit, glove, and also the supply hose. Right. So I think this is very basic for all the blaster. But however, when you do your selections of the PPE, you must always look into these three areas. So the first one is safety. Okay, never compromise safety. All right. Then the second one will be comfort. Then the third one is professional look and also functionalities. All right. So I will go through one by one. Okay, when coming to safety, right, the first thing you must look into it is the approval or the certifications of the respirator that you are getting. Okay, so according to OSHA, right, only the type CE respirators approved to be used for sandblasting operations. All right. Okay, so if you are getting a OSHA type CE respirator from your suppliers, what will you get? Mainly, first thing you will have a head top. Okay, then followed by a tips, breathing tube, flow control, and airline. Okay, so these 5 components must be present at the same time, must be tested at the same time to get the various certifications. So please look into this area when you are searching for sandblasting respirators. In order to comply to the type CE, Okay, there are additional requirements that we need to follow. Okay, the first one is the head protection standards. Okay, which is NCZ 89.1 Type 1. Okay, so this is equivalent to a safety helmet standard. So in case if there is anything drop from your from the top, this helmet can actually provide you impact suspensions. Okay, right? So it will act as a safety helmet. Right. The second thing you must look into will be the NCZ 87 Plus. This is a high impact face protections. Okay, this is very important to deal with the high speed, high pressure hazards. Okay, so we understand we are flying objects, flying around. So without these standards, you cannot ensure that the helmet can actually give you protections. Okay, the third thing is noise reductions. Okay, so since we are dealing with the high noise level, so you need to also make sure your helmet that you are getting a certain level of noise reductions, right? Okay, so other than that, it's all features. It's up to you whether you want to have the features or not. Okay, but the standard is the compulsory requirements. Okay, now next I'm going to show you some respirator that you might seen before. Okay, which is a non-NIOSH approved respirators. Okay, so if this respirator is familiar to you, I will advise you stop using this kind of respirators. The reason is because we cannot determine whether they are really safe or they are actually can have the protections that you want, right? And I know some of them, the glass, the visor, I mean, is even made from glass, you know, and also it's made of aluminum, you know, it's not reducing the noise, but actually it's enhancing the noise, you know, it speed up the hum. Okay, so do not waste your money to buy non-NIOSH approved respirators.
My dad was a sandblaster for several years in his late 20s. Shortly after that, he became short of breath. We didn't know what it was. He had a couple collapsed lungs, and then finally the diagnosis came, it was silicosis. It took about 5 years to kill him, and we got to watch. The toughest thing was watching him come home when he couldn't work no more, and literally fell on the ground and cried. He said, "I can't do it no more." So the impact is huge. You know, anyone that's ever lost anyone knows exactly what I'm talking about, whether it's cancer or a sudden fall. But watching a loved one suffer is a real human toll. They didn't know then, and most people don't know now, about the hazards of working around silica, dry grinding and cutting and polishing material that produces silica dust. The modern workforce can work safer. The silica standard can save lives. It will save lives. And frankly, it's going to save a lot of money. If over 50,000 people are dying every year from diseases they contract at work, some of them silica, imagine the cost. It's time to get the word out and let them know about this.
Right. I would like to do a poll. Okay. So now I believe now in your screen you will get the poll. So please take 20 minutes, 20 seconds, I mean, to actually input your answer. I think it will be very interesting to know that what kind of blasting helmet are you actually using now? Okay, can we have the poll result? Let's look at the poll result. Yeah, so can anyone see that? You know, we have about 56% say that yes, my respirator is NIOSH and balance 44% is not sure. Okay, so yeah, so I think this is a good fact findings, right? If you are not sure, so if you are not sure about whether your respirator is NIOSH approved or not, it's actually very simple. How to find out? You get your suppliers to provide you. Okay, right. Okay, actually it's very simple. You just need to contact your suppliers. Okay, to ask them for approval labels, NIOSH approval labels. Okay, so basically this approval labels is given to all the NIOSH approved respirators by list out all the individual components that I mentioned earlier on. There's 5 components. I'm sure you still remember. Okay, so all the 5 components will be listed in these tables. And from there, you can have the understanding whether your respirator is approved to NIOSH or not, right? Okay, so the first one, the second one will be assign protection factors. Okay, it's very important when you select respirators, you must go for a third party, okay, certified 1000 assign protection factors. Right? Okay. Okay, so basically what is assign protection factors? Okay, basic assign protection factor is the numbers and to tell us how high is your protection level. I mean the respirator protection level against an environment. Right, so a lot of industry hygienists will use this number to calculate whether the protection is sufficient or not. Okay, the range is from 5 all the way to 10,000. So for NIOSH approved respirator, at least you must have a site protection factor of 1000, right? So the next one you need to consider is the hygiene. Why this is important? Let me share with you. Okay, I think it is very common to see we are sharing the blasting helmets in many workplace. Okay, due to whatever reason, if you decided to share the helmets, the blasting helmets, okay, please remember you always go for washable chip pads. Okay, so whatever the reason is because the study show that okay, you do not take good care of your helmets, right? You don't wash it. Okay, the bacteria will actually go inside over time. Okay, so remember always go for the helmet that you have removable chip pads. Okay, the chip pad can be washable. Okay, and easy to machine wash it. Okay, this is very, very important. Okay, so we have covered the safety. Okay, this is the basic. This 3 is the basic you must have. Now we go for the comfort. Okay, comfort is more on improve of productivity, right? So when it comes to comfort, there are 4 things you need to look into it. Number 1 is the weight. Okay, so the latest blasting respirator actually using a lot of composite materials, you know, HDPE especially, you know. So we can actually achieve quite a good weight compared to those days, you know, while using fiberglass, you know. The second thing will be the cool air supply. Okay, can you have cool air supply? Actually, from Malaysia or Asia country, I think the cooling air supply is very, very important. Okay, so you need to ask your supplier how good is your cooling air supply, right? The third one will be the customization fit. Okay, this is extremely important because every workers they have different facial size. So are your respirators allowed to do customization fits? Right. So this is very important. How many customizations can you do? That means how many adjustments do you have? Right. This is extremely important. Right. So the final will be the airflow. Okay. How good is your airflow? Do you have channel for the airflow or the a proper diameters air holes, for example, to ensure you have sufficient airflow, right? So please remember to look into these 4 areas when you are looking for a sandblasting helmets. Okay, so this is what we want to achieve, right? So if your worker come to you to say that, you know, I feel like I'm working in an air conditioner room, right? So then I think you have achieved the comfort level that's in a sufficient level, right? So again, comfort will bring to productivity. Productivity will actually increase your profits. So the next one is professional look and also the functionalities. Okay, right? Right. So we think that sandblasting or a blaster is a professional job. You know, so to have a efficient working workwear, okay, it will definitely enhance and also improve the way the blaster work. Okay, so please consider to have a sandblasting suit, a dedicated sandblasting suit, right, rather than just put on your jeans or the normal coverall. Okay, so a dedicated sandblasting suit comes with a lot of features that require by the blaster. Okay, it not only protects the blaster, but it also improves how the blaster works. Right? So, for example, you know, we understand a lot of blaster they actually need to kneel down or knee down when you do the blasting. Okay, so how can the blast suit help the blaster in these situations? So some of the blast suit actually have integrated or formed knee pads. Right, so we have put in a knee pad to actually help to support the blaster knee and you actually knee down to do the blasting operations. This will definitely improve the comfort level and also the accuracy of the blaster. But of course, there are many other features which we will not cover one by one today. Right, so let's do another poll again. So currently, do you like your blasting workwear? Okay, so you might be using existing workwear or you might be using just jeans or normal coverall, you know. So we would like to hear from you. Okay, can we have the result? Yeah, it's 50-50, yeah. Yeah, good to know that. Okay, so basically now I have covered the basic of blasting blaster PPE. Okay, so I will spend a little bit more time to cover the advanced. So basically the advanced will be the breathing air supply configurations, you know, or setup. Okay, after you have a good helmet, you know, you have a good suit. Okay, you must also have a good air supply to work together, right? Otherwise, it will be meaningless. Okay, right. So just a little bit of information to share with you. When it comes to air supply or breathing air, okay, NIOS will not be the party who look after. Okay, NIOS will only look after the helmets, the air hose, okay, and then they provide certifications. So when it comes to the compressor air supply, right, it will look after by an organization we call OSHA in US, right? So this body will actually enforce how the user use respirators, okay, and then he will set a lot of parameter for certain chemical and particles, all right? Okay, then he will also define the respiratory protection programs. Okay, now let's look into the air source. Okay, now we know we do sandblasting, we need to have air for the respirator. So where can you get the air from? So there are various sources that you can get the air from. The first one is actually the cylinders. Okay, you can get the air from the cylinders, right? So what you need to do is you fill the deep breathable air into the cylinders, and then you bring it to the site, right? Then you connect it to the blasting helmet. The second one will be the free air pumps. Okay, if you does not have access to compressor, then you can consider to use a free air pump, right? The third one is air compressor, right? Okay, no matter what type of methods you want to use or what type of source that you want to connect to your respirators, you must always remember the requirement, the connections requirements, we call it point of attachment, is regulated by OSHA. Okay, so this means that you cannot just plug in the respiratory helmet to the air source whatever way you want. You know, there is a control method, right? So I will go into that detail in a short while. So if you decided to go with the cylinders, okay, this is going to be a very expensive options, okay, because you need to continuously refill the breathing air, and it's also very expensive to move around with the cylinders. So if you want to go for free air pumps, so the disadvantage of free air pump will be you have limitation of cooling options, right? And it's only good for small system, okay, maybe one blaster or maximum 2 blaster, right? So that is why most of the blaster prefer to go with the compressor. Okay, the advantage of compressor, you have unlimited air source as long as it's running. Okay, but however, please bear in mind that compressor also have some problems, which is the CO, the potential CO contaminations, right? So if you decided to go with the air compressor, remember to comply 2 things. One thing is the point of attachment. Okay, the requirement for point of attachment, you must have pressure gauge, you might have regulator, pressure regulators, you might have a pressure relief valve, okay, or a safety valve. You must also have compress fittings, okay, which means your fitting, your couplings must be consistent, right? Do not fit one end with Nitto, the other end with maybe CJN fittings, you know, things like that, right? And also, if possible, do not mix up the breathing air couplings to get and to non-breathing air couplings. Okay, do not use the same type of couplings, right? The other requirement will be the CO monitor, right? CO monitor is mandatory if you are getting the air from an oil lubricated compressor, right? Please remember that you must install a CO monitor or at least have a high temperature alarm, either one, right? So let me show you some typical setups for airline and also point of attachment, right? So this is the most common setup. You can have a compressor connected to a 7-stage filtrations, right? So on the 7-stage filtrations, you can see we have regulators, we have pressure relief valve, we have fittings, right? And also we have the pressure gauge, right? So four components are there to meet the requirement. At the same time, connect to a CO monitor for high pressure, right? So you have these 2 together, then actually you are meeting the requirements. So another example will be maybe you need to connect to multiple blaster and you want it to have different pressure to deliver for individual blaster. Then you can add individual regulators, right? So this will enable you to have different setups, different pressure setup for different blaster. Okay, right? So another example will be the call that data logging options, right? So if you have concern for the air quality, data logging for investigations, you know, incident investigations, and also if you prefer the real-time readings, you know, real-time readings, dew point monitoring. So you can also look into this kind of all-in-one CO monitor and filtrations setup, right? So basically, you will have all the functions that you want inside one small box, right? So this could be also one of the options you look into it. But no matter how, please remember the 2 points that I have mentioned, right? The POA, remember to comply the POA, and also CO monitor, right? No matter what type of setup you go for, these 2 is compulsory, right? So to summarize, what I have just shared with you, basically, when you do your selections of your PPE, you can have adding in many type of options, right? Based on the your requirements and also the safety result that you want to achieve, right? So this will be my final slide, right? So after this, I will hand over the presentations to Edmond. So if you have any question, you can just type it in, then we will answer it at the end of the presentations. I'm sorry, before we go into the Edmond presentations, let's do one round of lucky draw, see who can get the Balakawa, right?
Yeah, hello everyone. Now I will pick 5 people from our lucky draw pool. Okay. So our first round of the lucky draw, we have these 5 person for the win the prize. So stay tuned for the second round.
Right. So congratulations to all the winners.
Yeah, I think we need to make an announcement. Not sure that whether you can see it. Lucky winner number 1 will be named Javian, if I pronounce your name correctly. Second one will be Noor Azito. Third person will be Muhammad Mahmoud. Third will be Noor Shahira. And the last person is Sin Yong Cheng. Congratulations to you all.
All right, congratulations. Let's move on to Edmond presentations.
Right. I hope everyone can see the presentation slide. Good afternoon to everyone again. Today we will be talking about abrasive air blast system technology and the safety features in it. As a fun fact, just to let you know, for blasting technology or the idea of blasting where it came about was back in 1870. This is done by Benjamin Chew Tillman. The idea came is when he wanted to do an engraving stone and metal glass for it. And this is where it been developed. Right. When we talk about blast cleaning, what it means is the control of erosion, process the material that is removed or obtain desired surface. So how to achieve that basically is that there's to define it. There's 3 types. First, you need to understand what's the purpose of blasting. Why do you need to do the blasting? Do you require the surface to be clean, or certain things that is rusted, or you want to remove the existing coating that in hand? Second thing is that you look at the blasting system, what type of system that you'll be using, how you're going to remove the existing conditions that to achieve your requirement of the profile required, and of course the blasting media type. Well, what type of blasting media depends on your requirement and also on the specification required. In certain times that how it's required basically is more on the profile that you require. The cleanliness, the ankle profile, for example, and how the roughness, do you require the roughness to be fine, or do you need it to be very rough? It all depends on that. So we will go in more detail. Basically, I will run through it, tell you how the optimal abrasive blasting system works. As you look from the top, start from the top center, you will have the air compressor. That will be the source of energy for your blasting. From that, you will move on to this aftercooler. So for this aftercooler, what's the use of aftercooler? Basically, is it helps you to reduce all the moisture and to prevent it from going to the blast port. How it does? Once the air gets compressed by compressor, right, it would create a lot of heat into a small confined area. Once it goes into this aftercooler, it will start to expand and tend to cool down the heat. And on top of that, what it does for this equipment of ours, we call it a Schmidt aftercooler, it does, when it goes to the pressure vessels, it will start to turn as sort of like vortex, and it pushes off the air or the moisture to the side of the tank. And that's where the droplets of water collected and stop to fall at the bottom of it. All right, let me go back again to look at the optimal abrasive blasting system. First of all, you always have an air compressor that will be your source of energy for your work. And what it does is that you need this kind of energy for you to chunk out for your abrasive blasting. But if you look at through the system, how it works, that the air of the compressed air will need to go through to the aftercooler. Aftercooler, what it does is that it will cool down the compressed air, where you have a lot of energy that's been compressed to a small confined area. But once you expand it, there's a heat generated. At the same time, just imagine you have a room full of air to compress maybe into a carton size of box, and that's where all the moisture is. So when you do the expansion, when you expand it out, there's a heat energy that's generated out, and there's a lot of moisture inside. So in order to prevent it from going to the blast ports, what you need an aftercooler. So the aftercooler system is that once it expands, it cools the air. At the same time, the moisture will be collected at the bottom of the pressure vessels, and that will be eliminated off from the moisture going direct to your blasting system, and even to your air filter for your respiratory. As you can see from the diagram, it will show a person that is doing a blasting using a nozzle. Depends on what size that requirement. And most of the time, the length or the from distance from the surface blasting to your nozzle, averaging, you'll be looking at about 1 feet to 1.5 feet, which means it translates to about 300 to 400 mm in length. So how do you define a successful abrasive blasting operation? There's 3 items that you need to look into. First is known as control. What I mean is control is a system that you have in place for your blast ports, that you're able to dial it down to the required abrasive minimum requirement. Don't overflood it. You're able to control it. You're able to understand it. And in order for you to move on, and even though that you've done it once, you just leave it as it is. Once you have control, or you have dialed it, or you have desire to the required application, repeatable, moving on to sites, to another sites, to other sites, or even to another project, it will give you a repeatable requirement of blasting application. And move on will be predictable, which means that once it's set, you would understand that you move on to another site or another job that you're going to do. Once it's been set, you don't need to rework it every time, every day. Once it's done, you leave it as it is, and you're achieving the same result. That is something that a successful abrasive blasting operation that you should look into. Now, fine-tuning on the abrasive system. So these are the few items that you can look on. Determine the air demand and versus air supply. What it means is that area when you are blasting, let's say for your applications using a nozzle number 6, for example, which is 9.5 mm ID in it, averaging you'll be using about 200 CFM of air. But if you're using air compressor that produce less than 200 CFM of air, that means that you are not able to produce the right productivity or even efficiency. Indirectly, you will increase your costs, will increase your labor time, you will increase your diesel, you will increase your abrasive consumption. So indirectly also, it will link it to your safety, because more abrasive is considered more environment hazard to it. Hose lengths, hose size, coupling. So if that is not used correctly, you will have issue in that aspect. Moisture, we have mentioned a little bit. We will go in detail in it later part. Minimize pressure drop. Certain things that you have a differential pressure. Of course, it will affect your system. Minimize differential pressure is something that where it is subject to certain parts or even fittings, you have air loss in it, and that will create issue to your system. And of course, last but not least, will be your abrasive metering. This is where that you can able to control and increase, and also increase your productivity and at the same time efficiency. Not forgetting will be your health and safety as well. Now, you move on to this enemy of any blasting system. Actually, there are a few of it, but we think that at the moment and the time given is limited. We will touch on 2. One will be insufficient air supply, another one will be moisture. If you move on, Insufficient air supply, what it means is that for every 10 psi reduction in blasting nozzle pressure, it means that you lose 15% of productivity. So what explained further in detail is saying that for every nozzle or your blasting system, you should have 100 psi at nozzle. At the same time, chunking out the right CFM of air. So if let's say that you're not able to achieve 100 psi of pressure at nozzle, and you have a drop of 10 psi, which means that averaging constantly, you're getting a 90 psi of air. Indirectly or directly, you're losing a 15% of your productivity. So that transpires to you have increased on your labor, your time, your schedule may be delayed. Thirdly, that you increase on your abrasive usage, and also not forgetting for your disposal or housekeeping of the abrasive after blasting. So commonplace or issue occur, as you say, compressors are undersized, hoses are undersized, or even other equipment is not properly sized. So what it means? What it means is that compressors are undersized. Most of the time, a lot of people doesn't understand, or they have a misconception. Every time they see the aftercooler, the compressor mentioned, it is 400 CFM, and they think, all right, good, we are having a 400 CFM of air, but actually it is not. What it means there is that be able to peak at 400 CFM of air. If you look at the manual, it tells you, for all manufacturer manual, they will tell you saying that 80% of the compressor, their compressors are running 80% of the capability. What it means is that if let's say that you have 400 CFM of air, if you take out 20% of it, indirectly, you are chunking out about 320 CFM, right? So holes are undersized. What it means is that you're not using the right hose. You're giving a restriction. So for every restriction, you always have a resistance to it. So if you let's say that your compressor is giving a good boost of energy, but then you're not able to translate to the required energy, that's waste of your energy at the same time of the diesel. Other equipment that is not properly sized, for example, like the aftercooler. Supposedly for a system, you require, let's say, 450 CFM of air, but your aftercooler will only able to produce or able to maintain a constant of 350 CFM of air. There's a difference between of a 50 CFM or even 100 CFM of air. So indirectly, you're not getting the right CFM of air. And that would affect your productivity and also efficiency. And indirectly, you're using more diesel, more manpower, more abrasive again, and then you will spend more time with your housekeeping on your abrasive after usage. Now, moisture, we are moving to moisture. So what it does, the moisture. So these are the 5 areas that moisture will affect in your blasting system. It will increase your material cost. When I say increase the material cost, is that you're using a material that's exposed to moisture that is insufficient. You have a blockage in your system, and there's a lot of downtime. You need to open up and make sure that it's all dry and clean before it can be used again. If not, you continue using on certain areas that is materials that have moisture in it, you are indirectly exposing the surface with moisture contamination, put it that way, right? Decrease in operation efficiency, because it means that, as you know, sands, they can flow smoothly if they're dry, but once it's wet, they become a chunk. So just imagine that's going to the metering valve and it got stuck. So what you do, you have to open it up, you will clear it off, and you don't know whether the internal port, whether the abrasive is still contaminated with water or not. So most of the time, your supervisors or the project engineers or your site supervisors will tell you, no, you have to take it out, make sure it's dry and clean, and you do it. That is where your operating efficiency will incur. Reduce your productivity, again, how in fact it is so related to the first and second. Your productivity will be affected because of your downtime, your manpower, your job application, your scheduling is all out. So that is the problem. Possible need of reblast, as mentioned again just now, if you're exposed with abrasive, with moisture, you get a contamination. If the inspector check, now this doesn't approve, require you to reblast again for the safety concern, and at the same time, they want to make sure before application of a coating onto the surface, that's what they will require. Again, the last one, increasing operating costs. All these are affected because the top four points I've mentioned. So this also will create a big issue, especially for your scheduling, your project costing, etc. Now, how does water get into a compressor? A lot of people ask. As I mentioned again, just imagine a big room, let's say 2,000 square feet, and all of a sudden you want to compress that kind of air into maybe 2 square foot, for example. But don't forget, for 200 square foot or 2,000 square foot of air, you would have moisture in it. And imagine from that you compress and all the water are concentrated in there. And then once you expand it out, that's where the moisture will create a problem for you. We will move on how the safety features like this system can help you. We call it how a blasting system is controlled. Practically, there's two types of system. One is known as a non-pressure hole and a pressure hole. What it means is non-pressure hole. It is when you activate your system, a dead man, the air will be chunked to your pressure ports. It will start to pressurize and then activate and start to do blasting. And once you deactivate your dead man, what it does is that the system will be depressurized again and make sure that there's all air will be out from the blast port. So if you look at that safety perspective, using a 20 meter or even a 40 meter blast hole length, that's not an issue. But if you look into, you have a longer length, for example, you're going for 100 meter, 120, some of it you would even go up to 150 or even 160 meter of blast hole length. So you just imagine, same concept again, non-pressure hole, you activate, the blast port will pressurize, will take a certain number of time. Then once you have activated, air will come through and goes along your blast holes. So while your blaster is waiting for it to reach at the nozzle, but when the time you reach, it would give a back push that is quite a strong pressure that comes out, and also you'll be using a lot of abrasive. And once you deactivate the dead man and you reactivate again, just imagine once you deactivate, safety concern is when with that pressure and depressurizing again, it will take some time. So it depends again. I do not have data in hand. If let's say for 60 meter, for example, please don't quote me, but we hope to have that information. It may take up to maybe 10 seconds for it to depressurize. What it means is that just in case the blaster accidentally slipped or fell and he released the dead man, and the pressure still released and abrasive still moving and it's not holding, you will just imagine the blast hole will be spinning and hitting around, and just if let's say an accident have happened and things that you don't want it to happen, it got cut in the hand or the face or the body. So that 10 seconds is considered a very crucial for them. And that's where you look into this pressure hole system. Pressure hole, what it does is that once the air is introduced to the system, it would straight off pressurize the blast port. Once the dead man that activated, it would start blasting. And once it release again, it would deactivate. So in that time, you do not have any depressurize of the system. So indirectly, you'll be cutting down the time frame maybe to half or maybe more. It all depends on that. So we always recommend, for any blast holes that is longer than 40, please do look into this pressure hole system. So some of the pressure hole, non-pressure hole system, this is how it looks like, a combo valve and a micro valve. Macro valve is the metering control. Combo valve, it is something that you pinch the blast holes to pressurize the system. This is one of the metering valve, we call it a Thompson valve too, with auto air valve. This is a pressure hole system. It tells the blast port when to activate a dead man, when to activate and when to use deactivate the blasting. Now, these are the few of the things that we look into. We have mentioned again the deadman control and the metering valve. So how does it involve for safety? Again, deadman control, it is your control. That means it is for the blaster to control what he sees, what he's doing, and where he want to activate or when he want to deactivate. That's how it looks and how it does. So the perfect balance of comfort, safety, this you can look into it. We have the electrical types, which is way faster than a pneumatic. We do have pneumatic in our market. A lot of people are using pneumatic control. Of course, you see that some of it they'll be using the air bleed type, which is also not recommended. Or when we say air bleed type, if you look at the left side, it's quite similar to that kind of design. It is when that air bleed is that there's a plug or to cover the bleeding of air, and you will activate the system for the blaster to do the blasting. But one of the reasons is that afraid if there's any granulates or even pebbles or abrasive got stuck, it will just trigger to the system who thinks it is activated. The blast man or the blaster wanted to activate and start blasting by itself. So you need to. So these are some of the design that you can see, and then the explanation of it. Like this type, we have a large button, easy. So what it means is you need a man control using a finger to press it in before you can push down the lever. These are the electrical design. And we are moving on to this metering valve. Some of you might be wondering how does a metering valve will play on the safety factor. Again, this I will correct indirectly. One of the reasons is that you want to have a metering valve that will able to control it easily for you to required quantity, not over exert or use too much of abrasive. Again, then that will affect for your disposable, you affect your housekeeping again, and that also will concern on your safety factor. Some of it, as I said again, they are designed for pressure hole. Some of it designed on pressure hole. If you look at the center of it, you will see there's two systems that is the non-pressure hole. If you look the left side, top and bottom, and the right, that is for the pressure hole system. So for all this metering valve is always right, to get the right abrasive metering that can control the abrasive consumption and which can maximize the speed and the productivity. So this is the main objective, but also same time, it will affect indirectly to your material abrasive usage. Next, we will look into the nozzle, using the right nozzle for application. We won't be going too much detail in it, but we'll give you some idea. So once you have a right proper abrasive metering, which means that you're getting the right pressure at 100 psi. So say it again, get the right CFM of air. This is how it looks like. You will get a good flow of abrasive flowing. All right. Again, if you use an improper abrasive metering, not getting the right pressure, not getting the right energy from your compressor, this is how it looks like for the abrasive will be moving. A lot of energy will be wasted. It'll be bouncing up and down, and energy is wasted before it hit on the surface of your surface that need to be cleaned. And that's where, again, consumption of diesel will be higher, labor will be more, usage of abrasive quantity will be more. I mean, the supplier for the abrasive will be happy, but then again, your project team will not be happy, or your own management will not be happy about it because you're spending more. That's why you always good to look into your system that able to provide you the right abrasive metering. Now, speaking of all that, a lot of people have missed out. These are some of critical, or I would say important items that you need to look into. One is known as the R-pin and weak check. So what it does is that it connects from your fittings. One will be on your fork claws on one side, and the other one will be your blast holes. If you see the arc pin, what it does is that on the forepaw, there's a connection to it. It will hold them in place. So what it does is, again, safety. Some of it we inside we have seen nobody using it. Safety concern is that in case, just in case that either the coupling give way or the connection came loose, to hold it in place, and rather than having the blast holes or the coupling be flying around hitting anyone potentially, this will be help to hold them in place. Of course, you don't see it a lot of time. As I said, if you have a pressure at your nozzle is 100 psi, so constantly that is being pressurized at 100 psi. As a force, that's quite great. Now, this is a retrofit safety features. Look at it. This is the area where we call it ASAP system. Especially you have a line that goes up maybe 150, 200 meters. This is a control whereby once you deactivate your system or deactivate your datement, it will release the air very fast within 1 to 2 seconds. So all pressure will be out. So this will provide a safety factor for the blaster. So these are some of the benefits that is mentioned, the features and benefits of it. You can do a retrofit. You can use an existing air blast system, no problem. So as I said, now nozzle pressure is evacuated less than 1 second, so it's faster than what I said. Okay, last but not least, we will look into this. I would say it's a hybrid system. We'll look into this HELOC system. HELOC system, what it does is that once it's in place and the port is being pressurized, you want to open it up, you can't open it because it's able to detect the pressure. So in order for you to open to disengage it, you have to depressurize the system. If you do not, then it will not allow. So this is the safety features that we have put in hand. Very recently, I will put it this way, I think that was about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, there's an incident of a portman. If I'm not mistaken, it's in Canada. The blast port is as big as this. He didn't know it was pressurized. The top part that he tried to open up, and next thing he knew, he flew up 40 feet up. And before he knew it, he dropped down and sadly he passed away. So it's good to have this kind of system to be in place, and also for everyone's safety. Again, this blast port you'll be looking is big, but 100 psi pressure is a very, very strong pressure, and it can take your life away. Last but not least, we are back to safety gear and breathing air. So once you do blasting, make sure again you have the right safety gear, respiratory system in place. You don't have the right one, please do get the right one for safety of the blaster and the operators. And once you get this, most of the time, once there's any open blasting done, the safest person will be the blaster. You're getting the right respirator. But those who are nearby, when you do blasting, you have a lot of dust. Please make sure you move away. Whether you have an N95 mask or those what do you call it, the half mask, for your protection. Right, that's it for me. I hope that this information will provide you some understanding. Of course, that the time frame doesn't allow us to explain more, but we hope that we can do more and have more time if every one of you all. Why don't pass the time back to Cheong.
Sure. Okay, now is the Q&A sections. So let's see, do we have any questions?
Maybe you can start from
I think the first one.
Maybe you start from your side.
Yeah. So from the safety side, there's a question asking that is there any alternative blasting suit can be used in country with hot and humid climates? I think it's I think this question is coming from someone. Maybe he's based in Malaysia, So yes, the answer is yes, So if you are aware that we can deliver the cool air via a cooling device to the helmet, At the same time, we can also have a device to deliver the cool air to the body as well. So we call it a cooling vest. So actually, it's cool, air-driven cooling vest, right? So not only the helmet, we can also deliver the cool air to your body. Yes, the answer is yes. For workers, okay, there's another question regarding medical checkup, right? Okay, in order to use a respirators, according to OSHA, you must establish we call a respiratory protection program. So under this program, right, there is one requirement which is the medical checkup for the respirator user, right? So rightfully the blaster or the respirator user are required to do a medical checkup to ensure he actually fit to the job. And also to ensure he is fit to put on the respirators, right? Yes, medical checkup is necessary and also required.
Right, I think there's another question here. Do we have any other method than abrasive, given that garnet is one of the scheduled ways and to prevent of contamination with our product? Good question. Right. I mean, all the time abrasive, if you come in alone without usage, it is not considered as what I call a waste. Because if you expose in marine, it is still considered safe. So most of the time, whether you're using garnet or other substance, other abrasive, whether it's a baking soda, what I call the plastic beads, steel bricks, even you can use like those walnut husks to do the blasting. Most of the time, the waste it is because of one will be on your coating side. So for coating, we are not sure whether what are their material made, and most of the time that is where the contamination. So once you use any abrasive, whether it's garnet or non-garnet as well, when you do it, blast it out, that's where contamination will come into place. And that will be under the schedule for disposable. When you say that contamination with our products, I think that is very open. I'm not sure how to address that because it is not been defined. If you can, for the person Muhammad Zelfri, if you can provide us more information, I would like to help you and address that to you to give you a better idea. With this question is a bit open, I'm not able to provide the right information for now. I hope that answers your question.
All right, is there any more questions?
Yeah, is there any more question that we can help?
Okay, right. So if there is no more question, then we will move on to our final round of lucky draw. Let's see who will be the winner this time.
Okay, hello everyone. It's another exciting moment. So first of all, let's congratulations for our first lucky winners. So now let's do the second round of the lucky draw. This time we will pick another 5 winners. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Da-da-da-dun. So congratulations to these 5 winners. We will contact you after the webinar. So now I will pass the screen to our host and still stay tuned for more exciting information.
I think we have the winner.
All right, I think we shall move on. Of course, we will announce again the second winner for lucky draw.
All right, so before we end the webinar today, I just want to share with you, we are going to have workshops or open day, right? So what we have, the reason for this workshop is actually to put whatever we have shared just now into practicals, into hands-ons, you know. So we are going to have this workshop in Smith PJ office, right? So we have the full facilities. We have the blasting workshops, you know? We have all the equipment in place, right? So we would like to invite you guys, you know, pay a visit, right, during the open day, hands-on the equipments, right, and experience whatever we have just shared, right? So For those who registered for this workshop, right, we also provide some safety equipment as a door gift. Okay, then there's also a chance to win a brand new GVX blasting respirators, right? So after this webinar, you will receive an email. Okay, so you can actually show you can actually register or book the workshops when inside the email. The other event will be October event, because October is actually the breast cancer awareness event, month, I mean, right? So we want to do something or contribute to this breast cancer awareness program. So we have actually come with limited editions pink blasting respirators, right? So usually this is not available. Okay, it's only available for this event. So if you like to purchase it as your personal collections, or you want to support the breast cancer awareness, right? Or you have any female friends or colleagues who like to own these helmets, please go ahead and let us know. Okay, so regarding the certificates, right? After this webinar, you will receive a follow-up email. So what you need to do is just take a quick quiz. We don't actually measure the score, right? As long as you do the quiz, right? Then after that, you will be able to download a copy of certificates, right? So this will be a certificate of participation.
So once again, thank you for your time. I appreciate that you guys log into webinar. I hope our information will be very informative and fruitful. But please, you can contact us, and we would like to share more our knowledge, our technology, and also not forgetting the open day. We are really happy to, if everyone comes, we'd like to present it and show it, and on top of it, you can have your own live demo, so at least you can feel it and you can feel the difference, and do let us know.
Yes. Thank you very much for everybody. Hope to see you again in the near future. Bye-bye.
Bye.